Good evening. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. As we're all still coming in, the food is ready. Prior to that, I'd just want to thank everybody before we sit down and share a meal together. But before we do, I'd like to ask my dear Uncle Umith to please bless the table, bless the food before we sit down and share a meal. And then we'll carry out our evening. So thank you once again. Uncle, please.
Finish. From VITV.ca, me VITV.ca. Snuneymuxw. Please, Lord God, be with us today. Have pity and bless all the people. Hartska VITV.ca in the quail. Thank you, Lord God, for this day. Please help us open the right door and always take the right path. Please leave all your sacred words with us today and every day. Bless this food and nourish it with your love, your kindness, your skill, your knowledge, and ability. Teach us them. Lord Most High, please heal the people that are bereaving today. Almost the mukwet mistimo, seems to call. Give every person the gift to speak to each other with respect. Hajka siementiaya. Love you, babe.
Love you, Uncle.
Thank you, Uncle. Love you so much.
Hajka Shwamnik Shwakwa. At this time, our food is finally here and cooked. Thank you, Kong. Our favorite cook. We'd like to invite our Soljuan up first. And if our Soljuan can't make it, please have somebody help them. But you each have a plate on your table. If you can take your plate, serve yourself. There's lots of food, so Seconds. Let's have seconds tonight. Yeah. We have two lines that we could be forming up here. We got two sets of buffet tables here. If you haven't got a plate, please come up. The one line looks like it's a little bit short.
One behind Gary?
Yeah, just behind Gary there.
Should we go or?
gym tomorrow or today? Did you go to gym tomorrow?
Can I set these down for a sec? For the presentation, he just needs somewhere to see. So I'm gonna put this guy up here, and you guys can put your stuff over top.
Yep.
Now it is.
Marina, your table, please. Aaron, Rod, Ralph, Scott.
Which sun is out? Which sun is out?
Before we begin, please keep eating and eating and eating. There's lots, so keep helping yourself, please. Thank you. And if you need and you want to grab anything, just put your hand up. Tara will get over there and get it for you. Thank you. Over there? Over by where you came in, please. And then to the left is the D&D project, folks. So go over there and play their awesome games, and I believe they got some prizes as well. Thank you. Darren, brother, what's that mean? Huh? It's a new source. Over here now. I am here.
There's some desserts up there, fruit salads. Help yourself, please. A couple more minutes and we'll get started here.
Literally have 15 minutes to pull this off, and it's not working. It's still spinning.
Evening, everybody, once again. We can find our seats. If we are still hungry or haven't grabbed a plate, please help yourself. There's also some dessert. But we're ready to begin. I want to introduce once again with us Aaron Keatley. Come and share our audit this year with our community. He's been with us for the last few years, done a great job with us, understands our businesses. So moving forward, I'd like to invite Aaron up, please. Thank you.
All right, let's do it. Hey, good to see you again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aaron Keatley. I am from Robert CPA. We're the auditors for We're the auditors for the Snuneymuxw First Nation. We've been doing that for about close to 7 years now. I was looking in my files the other day, and it's been a lot of fun getting to see your community and how it's been growing and prospering over those years. I want to start by putting my contact information up. If there's any questions that we don't get to tonight as part of my presentation, I am available to the community. I just ask that you send me an email or give me a call and give me a chance to respond in writing to you. You can also leave questions with Kathy or Michaela at the administration office. What I'm here to talk about tonight is your March 31st, 2024 financial statements. So we do a significant amount of work on these financials after the end of the fiscal year. So usually with your year end being March, we get to work with your financials probably in the month of June or July. We try to get them done by the end of July, which is the end of the reporting period for your numbers to the federal government. ISC requires that all the First Nations across BC submit by July 29th. So yeah, we finish personal tax season in April, and then we swing right into audit work, and it's a lot of fun for us, but also very busy. When we audit a First Nation, we start by starting with the real fundamentals. We go all the way down to the invoices themselves, and we check signatures. We check what the invoice was for. We look at where it was put in the accounting records and ask, is this the right place for it to go? We look at the budgets and we compare where were we expecting expenses to go compared to where they actually went, and we ask questions about any discrepancies. We invest probably a total of for this nation, probably about 300 man-hours a year to prepare these financial statements, and the statements themselves are about 200 pages thick. We've got some summary stuff that we've handed out. If you haven't gotten a copy, they're over at the front, and I've also got digital on the screen for you guys as well. So we start by looking at invoices. We do Terry to see the foreshore rehabilitation. We stopped in at the school. We stopped in at and the rest of the work on IR3 and IR4, including the road and the site of the new works yard. Really interesting stuff, and really cool to see where those investment dollars are actually going. It's really going to be exciting in a few years when some of these projects get out of the ground. So when we come in and we do our audit, after we're done doing all of our paperwork, we have to deliver what's known as an opinion. And an opinion is where we look at the financial statements and we say, Are these financial statements of good quality? Do they present fairly? So if somebody's reading our financials, can they rely upon them? And so the three kinds of audits that we deliver are clean opinions, where it's unqualified, there's no issues with the financials, everything is perfect. There's a denial of opinion, where everything is terrible. And then there's the middle ground, which is a qualification. We delivered qualified financials for Snuneymuxw every year, but not because we had any problems with the system of internal controls, not because we had any problems finding support, not because the numbers didn't add up. We qualify them on the basis of a couple of technical things relating to how we have to interpret some of the accounting standards that we rely on to produce financials. Something as simple as one of the sub-entities, one of the incorporated businesses delivers notice to reader financial statements instead of reviewed or audited financial statements. That requires us to qualify. When a qualified opinion is given, if the reasons for qualifying are like that, not much happens. It's not terribly exciting, but that is what we did for this year. Looking at the when we get into the financial statements, I just want to highlight some of the numbers that I'm going to point out in a few minutes. The first one is accumulated surplus, and I thought it would be interesting to put this slide together so that we could see the growth in the accumulated surplus of the First Nation from 2020 all the way to 2020. I just realized I mislabeled that, 2025. It's actually 2024. So $87 million of accumulated surplus. What is that $87 million? That $87 million is the difference between your assets, which are the things you have, your bank account, the accounts receivable, your buildings, your land, minus the liabilities. So long-term debt, accounts payable, anything else that you owe people. We take those two differences, and instead of it being equity, it's called accumulated surplus. And so in 2020, you were at $51 million. In 2024, you were at $87 million. So consistent growth every year. Money coming in, being invested in the community, being developed, adding value, and then continuing to grow and prosper. So it's been a good run. This year, some of the investments that occurred, there was about $10 million of capital projects that were created and fixed assets that were added to the nation's books. That included the 611 Kennedy Street property and a lot over on Nanaimo River Road, lot 11, I think it was. There's also was construction last year on the 8-plex, and I'm sure you guys have noticed that there's more construction coming. The HVAC system in the administration building was upgraded. That was completed at the end of in the 2025 year, and the old equipment is going to be decommissioned over the next couple of weeks. There were also significant upgrades that occurred at the cemetery, and there were significant upgrades that occurred at the Longhouse. I guess repair work after a year is a pretty good highlight, but for the rest of the details, we're actually going to have to start going to the handouts that were handed out. So if I could get everybody that wants to follow along on paper, I am going to have it up on the screen as well. If I have everybody that wants to follow along on paper, if you open up the handout, you're going to find that the first couple of pages are a bunch of reports and instructions and descriptions of what accounting treatments we did and how we came up with our audit opinion. If you want to skip to the second to last page, you're going to find a page that looks a little bit like this. And it's labeled Consolidated Statement of Financial Position. Okay? Labeled Consolidated Statement of Financial Position. Okay? It's the first page with numbers on it. And so what this statement is a snapshot of one particular day of the year, which is the last day of the year, March 31st, 2020. Entities $1 million, not too exciting. Notes receivable from PDG. Okay, so this one's an interesting one. Almost $14 million compared to $10 million in the previous year. And this is directly tied to the long-term debt number that's a little bit lower down, and that's on the liability side. What happened there is that the First Nation took loans from the First Nations Finance Authority at very good interest rates, and a portion of that money was contributed to and loaned to PDG to fund hotel and the Sealand acquisition inside PDG. So there's a debt and an asset both appearing at the same time. So they balance each other out in a way. Investment in government business partnerships, that's the equity value of PDG for the most part, $37 million. That's an increase from the previous year of $21 million. And that increase is based on a comprehensive revaluation of PDG's fixed assets. There was some land that is carried on PDG's books, and it was being carried at a cost value. However, the market value is far higher, so it was revalued last year by their auditor. So PDG has a separate auditor. I report on the nation. PDG, we get their audit report, we go through it, and we include some of the detail on that in our work. Investment in specific claims, $1.4 million. There is significant spending in that category this year, and I think that spending bears fruit in the 2025 and the 2026 years as well, I'm expecting. Debt reserve fund is related to the debt of the First Nation with the First Nations Finance Authority. It's a balancing act. They charge a premium. That's exciting. They charge a premium and then reserve some of those funds to be used to pay interest in the future. On the liability side, we have $3.4 million of long-term debt, accounts payable. That's an increase from the previous year of 2.3. The reason for that increase is basically timing of construction activities. Obviously, whenever you're doing development, you're not writing $500 checks, you're writing $50,000 checks in some cases. So at the point that the bills are delivered, they get booked in here, and this year accounts payable was $3.4 million compared to $2.3 in the previous year. Deferred revenue is $18 million compared to $14 million in the previous year. So what deferred revenue is where we recognize that the nation receives cash before it spends it. A perfect example of this is the coal tailings project, where a significant sum was delivered from the federal government in advance of the work being completed. So as the work is completed, we recognize a portion of that revenue and we cross it off this number and bring it onto the income statement, bringing down the obligation. So we set aside a deferred revenue amount based on the contracts that are in place and the agreements related to funding. Long-term debt, as previously mentioned, increased. That was a $4 million loan that came in and then was flowed in part to PDG. $23 million is the final long-term debt. I can also comment that the nation has met all of its debt obligations, has been consistent with its payments, and is receiving attractive interest rates on their loans. Specific land claim loans also went up, and that went up in proportion with investment in specific claims. So as claims progress, a forgivable loan is received from the federal and provincial governments. They help fund the legal fees, and once the specific claim is resolved, the debt is forgiven. So we are required under accounting standards to carry that as a debt until the claim is resolved, and at that point we wipe off that, and then we wipe this one off as well at the same time. And then tangible capital assets, that's where the $10 million comes from that I mentioned earlier. We carried $42 million of assets on the books last year, and that includes everything from roads, sewer systems, water systems, buildings, computers, trucks, the works. right down to these tables and chairs we're using tonight. And the reason it's not a full 10 and that it's an 8 difference is because of wear and tear. Every year we track and do a mathematical calculation. The value goes down as the longer you hold things, and this is our way of recognizing that. And there's that $87 million figure I pointed out earlier. If you take all of your assets and you subtract all of the liabilities, including deferred revenue, including long-term debt where the payments extend for years out, you wind up with an $87 million surplus, which is pretty fantastic. It's good growth and good improvement from the previous year where $66 million of accumulated surplus existed. Okay. I've done a lot of talking. I'm going to take a little sip of water right now. I think it's probably a good point for me to stop for my first round of questions. I'm going to do just a short session of questions right now, and then I'll do a longer stint after I finish my presentation in a few more minutes. So, yeah, do we have any questions?
Okay, I'm just wondering, is this PDG's budget report also?
Okay, so thank you for the question. The question was, is this PDG's report? I'm afraid not. I'm engaged by the Snuneymuxw First Nation, so I'm presenting the First Nations audited financial statements. PDG has its own separate auditor and delivers its own reports.
Yeah, just hang on one sec. I'll be right there.
Hello. I'm just curious about what is on paper. Where is it that we can see what chief and council receive in a year? Is that not in the audit?
Okay, so that's those detailed breakdowns are in our audit files, of course, but our financial statements cover the whole nation, so we don't have those detailed breakdowns in our audited financial statements, no.
Did we not used to have notes to the financial statement? I recall last year you did have notes included, as well as line items, which we don't see this year.
You know what? That's an excellent question. I actually need to point that out. The notes to the financial statements, which are an integral part of the financial statements, weren't printed with the statements for the handout package. The summary audit report is about 34 pages long, and I think only about the summary statements at the top of it made it into the print. The notes did not. They are part of the financials and they are available. I just don't have them here for printouts tonight. Okay, so the full financial statements should be available at the office, and they should also be available, I believe they're published on the ISC website as well.
Earlier you were speaking about the assessed value of the fixed assets. I'm curious as to how that assessed value, how you arrive at that figure. Is it? Okay, go ahead.
Sure, that's an excellent question, and I'm going to answer that in two parts if that's okay. So the first part is the comment that I made related to PDG, where I said that the part of the increase in the value from 21 million to 37 million was a revaluation of PDG's fixed assets. And that value was determined, I believe they got an appraisal done and increased the value on their audit report, so we picked that up and floated into our report. So that's the value inside investment in government business partnerships that relates to PDG's fixed assets. So for that, you'd have to consult, for the details on that, of course, you'd have to consult the PDG auditor. As for the nation's assets, which are separate from PDG's, of course, they're down here, and they're part of that $49 million number that I pointed out down at the bottom. And that $49 million number is made up of cost value. So when we record an asset, we look at the invoices. That's a significant part of my audit file, actually, is just invoice after invoice. We've got everything from computer servers to truck purchase agreements to the progress reports and billings for some of the kinetic invoices for the school. That's carried at a cost value, and from there we do wear and tear, where we depreciate it down.
Okay, that works for the depreciable assets, as you say, they depreciate. But what about assets that might be carried at fair market value? Is any of that listed in that section?
Okay, so assets, for fixed assets especially, are not typically carried at fair market value. They're typically carried at cost. Anything that would be fair market value would be anything like a financial instrument or a marketable security, bank account, accounts receivable, all of those things that are carried at fair market value. You know, it's funny enough to say, it's, you know, my first response to that is, well, if you look in the notes, you'll see what they're carried at cost and fair market value, but you don't have the notes. So if you want to, if you'd like, what was I going to say there? I just lost my train of thought. With regards to fair market value assets, the majority of these assets in this block up here called financial assets, those are reported at fair market value. And that's why you'll see that that increase in PDG reflects the fair market value bump of their underlying assets. The financial liabilities are also at fair market value, but that's just as simple as going and looking at the loan statements and making sure that they match up. The non-financial assets, such as the tangible capital assets, those are carried at cost. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to hit pause there on questions, and I'm going to continue on to the next statement that we're going to look at tonight. That's statement 2. So if everybody that was looking at statement 1 in your packages just turns the page, I think you'll find that on the back page of the statements. And where the previous statement was a snapshot of one day of the year and all the values that you had on that particular day, this statement is a snapshot of the whole year and how the money came in and what it was spent on. So the revenue section is pretty easy to understand, starting at the top line and working our way from left to right. Indigenous Services Canada, or ISC, funded $13 million of actual money, and in the previous year they provided $10 million. The increase is mainly in construction and one-time funding, but it's there nonetheless, so that's pretty cool. 13 million, 13.5 million. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation provided $952,000, and you'll see that we have a budget number of $327 to the immediate left of that. There was some construction funding that was approved early, didn't make it into the budgeting process, but it did arrive. So $952, I believe that was some of the design work for and some of the remediation work for a couple of the projects. First Nations Health Authority, $2.6 million. That's down from $3.1 in the previous year. So 2023 was the year that most of the COVID money finally started to run out, and they started winding down some of the supports that they had introduced. First Nations Health Authority was kind of the tip of the spear for that. So it was expected that that funding would kind of dwindle down, and you can see that in the budget reflected to the immediate left. They were projecting 2.7 when it came in. They actually received 2.6, but the previous year was 3.1, so met expectations. BC First Nations game revenue sharing, $910,000. The 2023 year was significant because it was a catch-up year for their distributions post-pandemic. We were actually expecting a significant shortage or shortfall and fall-off of funding, but they had almost as good a year as the year before. $910,000 for that. BC Housing, $4.7 million. Obviously, BC Housing has significant operations on reserve land, and this money reflects the start of those construction projects. We got a chance to go to the area earlier today, and those are some pretty nice looking houses, and I understand that there's more on the way in the next few years. $4.7 million came in that year for that. BC Treaty Commission, the funds expected that they expect to fund, and the funds expected that they expect to fund, and they met their budget obligations, $411,000 compared to $500 in the years past, and that matches up with our review of the treaty expenses as well. We like to make sure that the money coming in matches the money going out for treaty engagement. City of Nanaimo, $217,000. That's the completion of a capital project. I don't remember which one, but it had $1.2 million of funding in the previous year and completed out this year with $217K. Coast Salish Employment and Training Society, consistent with the previous year, $417 compared to $447. Finesque, again, COVID supports, getting back on a normal trajectory for what funding is supposed to be coming through on an ongoing basis. $474,000 compared to $974 last year. And then the gain from government business partnerships. So that's $14 million, and last year it was actually a loss of $1.4 million. This is the other side of the adjustment that I was speaking to that gentleman about just a little while ago, where I was commenting that we increased the value of assets. This is where we booked the other side of it. Accounting is a game of balancing. So whenever I add something in one place, I have to have it reflected in another place. This is that place, $14 million. Interest income. Oh, I did miss Fisheries and Oceans. Yeah, I did. $1.3 million compared to 1.1 in the previous year. So Fisheries and Oceans is one of those programs that kind of fluctuates in its spending. However, with the increased activity in the marine group, we expect to see more funding coming in for that. Interest income. I was so excited about the interest income, I forgot about fisheries. $1.9 million compared to a budget of $1.1 million and a previous year of $1.2. Interest rates have been very good for First Nations that have a robust balance sheet and money in the bank. The more cash that was on hand, the more interest was earned, and in this year, your reserves generated $1.9 million of interest income. This is absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, like all fantastic things, sometimes they're not due to be repeated for a while. I'm expecting that when I stand up here this time next year, the interest income won't be so rosy. Not because you won't continue to have good amounts of cash, but because the interest rates overall for all kinds of bank accounts, guaranteed investment certificates, and other term deposits, all of those interest rates have gone down. They peaked at about 5.25%, and I think they're down at around 3% right now. So we can expect to see a lower interest income next year. Loss on government business enterprises. So there's partnerships, and then there's the incorporated companies. That includes things like the Tyaxton General Store and a few other smaller endeavors. The loss on that this year was $108,000. Miscellaneous income, $3.2 million. Basically, we only have so many pages, and if we break everything out in detail, this statement will run about 4 or 5 more pages to go through. So we consolidate a lot of the smaller funders. Anybody that doesn't make it into the big game list tallies up at $3.2 million compared to $3.1 in the previous year. Province of BC, $2.1 million compared to $2.4, and The settlement trust also had a good year for investments, and one of the pillars of the trust is that it returns some of its investment income to the nation as a distribution. So this year, the distribution from the trust into the nation's coffers was $1.3 million compared to $651. That's a sign of good investment returns in the trust. And then United Way funded $345K compared to $616 the year before. Overall, $50 million compared to $30 in the previous year. That's a pretty cool number to see in a revenue line, and it gets me pretty excited because, well, we had a nice jump there, even notwithstanding the gain from government business partnerships. Our expenses did not necessarily increase at the same rate. So I like to see that because that means that I can show something like an annual surplus of $21 million and a surplus in the previous year of $2.4 million. So more money came in, more value was generated, then expenses went out the door. So on the expense side, we break it down on this schedule by functional area. So instead of having wages and contractors and office supplies, we have administration, education, and health. So the administration program, spending increased there by $600,000 from 2.8 to 2.4. Then we have the education sector that increased operations from 3.7 from 3.2. Health was also increased 4.7 compared to 4.1. The impacts of inflation, of course, in this period were also pretty significant. Social development spending increased by about $50,000, and marine was actually down a little bit this year just due to timing. Economic development, 1.9 compared to 2.2. Housing expense, 1.6, and that's not the capital construction, of course, that's just spending on operations, repairs and maintenance, renovations, and things like that. The actual construction expenses, of course, are part of the fixed assets. And then treaty negotiations, 1.9 million, and then tangible capital asset depreciation. So there's my depreciation, my wear and tear. It's not cash. That's the cash was spent when you built the stuff. That's us just wearing it out, 2.6 million this year. So the total annual surplus is 21 million. The accumulated surplus when we started the year was 66 million, and you ended up with the 87 million from the previous figure. So there is a line item here called prior period adjustment, 750,000. And what that resulted from was a miscommunication in the previous year of 2023. We recognized a deferred revenue amount for a project that had actually been completed. And so this is our way of acknowledging that mistake. It wasn't a cash mistake. It was a question of, is it deferred revenue or is it real revenue? And when we recognized it this year as part of our cleanup, we realized that we actually had to fix last year's numbers in the comparatives and pick up that difference. So we accounted for that 750,000 already in the comparative column here. That's why it says restated. The restatement is a result of the $750,000 adjustment. Okay. We have a question from Joan. Hi, Joan.
The matriarchs we reflect back, some of us that were on council before, and our ask is, we're so overwhelmed with what our leadership has done and how progressive they are in staying in the teachings. I think it would be helpful for a lot of our community members to see maybe a 10-year comparison or a 20-year comparison, because that's what really gives us hope and inspiration to understand how progressive, because that's the mindset of the former council. So that's kind of how we thought about it, and I appreciate, a 2-year, 3-year reflection, but I think a real standout from our perspective is really to see how far they've progressed and overwhelming. How we say it was, people set a real high standard in terms of expectations. They've exceeded those expectations. So I think to really tell the narrative so people really understand how amazing this story is. So thank you, Aaron, for all that you do, and we just want to tell a deeper story. Right, Sapka?
You know, it's a great point, Joan, and you know, I regret that financial standards require me to report on our financial statements with only one comparative column. When I don't have to play by accounting rules, I actually do have, for my smaller clients that are not audits or reviews, I actually do a 4 or 5 year income statement breakout. But I don't typically do that on audited statements because it's not allowed. They only provide, the rule book only provides me for one comparative column. What I did do at the beginning of this presentation, I just want to review that briefly to, from the point of view of seeing how far you've come, is I included the accumulated surplus, that last number at the bottom of the balance sheet where it's your assets minus your liabilities. You can see the growth from 2019 all the way through 2024 on this slide. We started at $51 million in 2019 just before the pandemic, and we're now all the way up at 87. If that's pretty compelling growth right there. Yeah, if you actually look on the first page with numbers, statement 1, and I'll get you to remember this number on this slide, 87,401,483. Just remember the $87 million number. There's not too many of those around. If you look at the very bottom, the last number on statement 1, you're going to see that $87 million figure right there.
That's not covering what you were just explaining before that, though.
Actually, I think it does. Yeah, because you've got beside it, you've got the $66 million figure, which is last year's, and there's that same $66 million figure right there. It's the earlier years that are not covered on the reports. You'd have to look at last year's financials and the year before that to get those. Are there any other questions?
This is just a question, nothing implied. I'm just wondering about justification for not providing the financial information for the general store and the Salpak fisheries. I see loss from business partnerships. A loss from government business enterprises of 108. I'm assuming that's the store and the fisheries?
You know, to be audited, and Salpak did not sign ourselves to the nation. What I received was not audited, so I wasn't able to take that disclaimer out. I do want to point out, though, for the purposes of comparison, because when we finalize this audit, it has a report date on. The bottom of the audit opinion of July 26, 2024. So if the financial information's come in since then, we're absolutely going to update and take another look at that when we get to doing the 2025 audit.
Okay, thank you. Maybe it's something that Chief and Counsel might like to weigh in on.
Yeah, Salpak is, we haven't been too active in that partnership with Pachidut, and John White has been actively working to get that program up and working because it could help our Marine Division, but that's something we're working on. In regards to the store, that's been moved over to PDG, and it's part of that audit. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so we've got that lady right there. Oh, no, he's over there. Okay.
I know that Indigenous Services Canada provides monies to each nation, and they give money per person, so per membership to each community. And we have a number that are living off reserve, and I'm wondering if there are numbers for that. I also would like to request at this time to have at least 20 documents sitting at maybe reception in the admin building for us, any members who might want to pick up papers on to check to see what Chief and Council bring in, because this is actually the first time. That doesn't mean that it wasn't last year, but I'd like to see it. I'd like to have it in it. They would give monies for 2,000 members. I'm wondering if that's the case, and how many are living off reserve?
Okay, so thank you. It's a good question. The second part of your question obviously is an administrative matter. I can't speak to that, but I'll leave that for the administration team to take care of. As to the first part, the ISK funding formula, so yes, headcount is a component. It's not the whole picture, though. Large amounts of ISK funding derive from capital projects where a proposal is created to perform a particular work, and that funding is approved or denied based on the scope of what the project is going to be. So an example would be the coal tailings rehabilitation, where about $4 million was provided. Actually, it was a lot more than that, but I think we've got deferred revenue of about $4 million left. Other examples would be things like water treatment or sewer. They provide that funding on a project-by-project basis. Headcount factors more into things like social assistance, education dollars, and things like that. And that's all based on discussion and negotiation with Chief and Council, as well as the support of major department heads like health, education, etc., to be able to make sure that their needs are being covered. As for the exact head count of on reserve versus off reserve, I'm terribly sorry. I don't have those numbers as part of my audit.
So did I hear you say that you were not able to give a decision as to whether a report will be left at the front desk for any members to pick up on Chief and Council's?
Yeah, it's available, Kim. We'll have it. It's available for anybody if they want to access it. We'll have it ready at the front desk.
When can? I'm asking him.
Yeah, no, we'll get that information for you, Kim. No problem. Yep. Thank you. Any other questions? I think Jimmy, did you have a question? Yeah.
Thank you, Chief. I don't profess to know what's going on here, but could you just tell me what the bottom line is, how much we made for the year?
My good friend Aaron could definitely share that with you. That's his expertise. Definitely share that with you. That's his expertise.
Sure. Sir, if you go to Statement 2, that's the one with the backside on the second page with numbers. And you look at the bottom, it says annual surplus, $21 million. That's the answer to your question. So that's your revenue minus your expenses.
Thank you. Could you tell me, is the casinos in a different audit?
So yeah, that's a question for PDG, I'm afraid.
Do we have to wait another year to get that one?
Yeah, so the PDG, the casino will be in the PDG audit of the next year, yeah. My audit includes some of the loan amounts, but the actual purchase, of course, they had to get the loans before they could do the purchase. So all of the casino stuff is going to be picked up on the 2026 audit. And last time, if anybody has any additional questions, and yep.
Just wondering where the other $22 million went or is from this latest settlement.
The $22 million from this latest settlement. So that would be related to the money you receive, the checks that are being run out tonight. So that's, again, this audit runs to March 31st, 2024. So the short answer is, I don't know yet. I'll be finding out in the next couple of months, and it'll be part of the March 2025 audit work when we get to it.
It's in a separate bank account within our band office, tightly held by our CFO, and we're currently in planning stages to figure out what to do with it, and there'll be upcoming community engagement sessions to receive the voices of yourself and our people to help us direct where that goes. So it's sitting by itself in its separate account, right, Kathleen? Yeah. Highly protected.
Okay, well, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate the high quality of the questions. I always look forward to this presentation every year. Just to see people that are active, involved, it really kind of brightens my day and improves my mood because it means that the work I do is seen and viewed and enjoyed by others. So thank you very much. I look forward to being here next year, and yeah, I'm going to turn things over. Thank you.
At this time, we have a PowerPoint that we want to present, and our friend here needs a couple minutes if you want to grab a coffee or a water, and if there's more drinks, can our younger people get our Sol Juan some refreshments, please? But if want me to make that announcement now? Excuse me. If I can make a quick announcement. So with the growth of our nation and the work that we've been able to do, working with PDG and the nation, we just want to make an announcement tonight. We understand the struggles we have at times when it comes to the cost of inflation, the cost of groceries, the cost of fuel. This evening, our council wants to announce that we're working on initiating a new, we want to call it the Snuneymuxw pension. We want to support our elders that are 65 and over an additional $250 a month for the rest of their lives. This is what we strive for, is to better the lives of our community, our members. So at this time, our team, our finance team, is going to be doing the work behind the scenes to get on and off reserve Sol Juan information, to have that for them every month. So we're really excited. I can't wait to turn 65. I got 8 years. But I just wanted to share that good news tonight. It's a part of the work that this team is working so hard to make sure we achieve. And we have some door prizes that we wanted to share this evening as well. So we'll Vanessa Wise. One more? One more. Len Bodley? Yeah. Len Bodley. So while we're waiting, if any council want to share any comments, we got like I said, we got a slide that we want to share, and then we got the corner display over there if there's any questions for our D&D properties. And are we ready?
I just gotta know who's next.
Are we ready for the slide?
I don't know who's next. All I have is the USB. Is the slide ready?
it the INET pub?
Because this is all I have.
Did Sonia give you a...
Yeah, that's it right there.
So if you open that stick,
That's what was open.
go.
So you're printing your.
So Chief, it just needs to press the arrows.
We're starting here.
So essentially what we've done is we've broken down the long.
You're gonna do yours.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You're gonna do this one.
Okay.
Can you use this?
No, just this is great.
Okay, we'll carry on. If we can grab a seat there, please. Yeah. Okay. So you're going to do that? Okay. So there's a package on your desk as well, on your table. It's the annual community meeting pamphlet there. Okay. Okay. Dear Snuneymuxw, Siam na Soljuan, Siam na Shwalakwa. The political reality around us continues to shift in unpredictable ways. But this is not new to us. We have experience with changing political landscapes ever since the arrival of the newcomers. In this moment, with Mark Carney as the new Prime Minister of Canada, President Donald Trump's senseless tariff-based trade war, and ongoing racist rhetoric from the Conservative Party toward First Nations people, Our path is clearer than ever. We must remain deeply committed to advancing a nation-to-nation relationship with Canada based on treaty implementation. Whatever the issue, whether it is trade, transportation, global affairs, the environment, or economic development, recognition and respect for Snuneymuxw First Nation is the path to unlocking economic growth in our territory. While many efforts are strengthening the well-being of our people, advancing Snuneymuxw rights and title, and building a strong, resilient economy remains key priorities. This includes returning our lands, seeking redress for past wrongs, upholding our way of life, and ensuring Snuneymuxw shares in the wealth generated within our territory. We will continue to build and nurture relationships to advance this vision while upholding our culture and our Snuneymuxw Sarlican Treaty of 1854. Building a strong and resilient Snuneymuxw economy requires investing in both economic development and our Snuneymuxw people. Together we will unlock our true economic potential. Since its launch in 2015 with 3 companies and 4 assets, Petroglyph Development Group has grown to more than 11 companies and approximately 55 assets. A major turning point was the return of forestry lands, which jump-started our economic momentum. What began with forestry operations has now expanded into retail, gaming, and real estate development, laying the foundation for stable, balanced, and diversified growth that will ensure long-term economic resilience for our nation. This is another defining time for Snuneymuxw. We stand ready, empowered by the strength of our ancestors, guided by Snuneymuxw, and united by a shared vision for the future. With strategic investments and the strength of our people, we will undoubtedly continue to shift. We remain focused. Together on our Snuneymuxw journey, we are building a future where our rights are honored, our lands are appeased, and our people thrive. This 2025 annual community report shares updates and information about governance, political progress, and strategic long-term planning initiatives. Should Snuneymuxw citizens have any questions or comments, I encourage you all to reach out to our band office. Thank you for listening to a few words that I had. The fight has been a long journey and it's still carrying forward. I need to acknowledge the past leadership that have fought tirelessly for where we are today. We have a lot to live for, our Snuneymuxw people. We're a strong people for thousands of years. We want to be able to set the table for them. But I really want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to come and sit with each other this evening, see where we are as a nation and the growth that we're going towards. So I appreciate everybody's time tonight. We'll carry on. We have other slides we'd want to share. And I'll let Erilyn jump in here, and we're going to call up some of our management team to, if there's any questions, to answer any questions as well. But once again, Heitzapka.
Right on, Chief. So following the message from our Chief, we have 3 categories for updates. A governance update on page 4, and then following that on page 10 is the political progress report. And then on page 13, we'll share some strategic planning initiatives that we're focusing on, and then we'll end with our future outlook. So starting on page 4 is our governance update. Here is where we just want to share how Chief and Council has organized ourselves and how we partner with administration to meet our goals in our 2024 to 2028 strategic plan. On page 10, you'll see the portfolios that we have. We have 10 portfolios: governance, administration, finance, health, Snuneymuxw, justice, education, capital, special projects, and treaty rights. Each portfolio, a councillor is required to chair at least one portfolio, and a councillor is required to co-chair another portfolio. So you can go ahead in there and read the mandate of each of them. As well, we created a matriarch advisory group and elders advisory group to bring forward our Snuneymuxw elders to provide advice to Chief and Council as we go forward. Secondly, we also report on the Snuneymuxw administration. We have a lot of departments, but we shared the key departments, that being education, housing, health, which are key determinants of an improved quality of life, and we felt it was important to include that. And we also have more administrative highlights. So going forward, I will call up each manager for the departments to share a little bit of work that they've been doing over the last year. Starting with education, Scott, would you mind presenting on this one?
Iquanatnit, Qanasilam Nala Tanakoil. In Nancy Seward's absence, I'm honored, happy to give a short report on education. We have, if you didn't know, the best school in Nanaimo. It's Quamquamsteriqual, maybe the province and maybe Canada. It is the only co-governed school in the province, if you didn't know, and that makes it very special. We have 132 students in the school, which pretty much makes us full, and so we're looking to expand. 68 Snuneymuxw University students we supported in pursuing their post-secondary education. Language revitalization still happens at Woodbank School or the Snuneymuxw Learning Academy. Maybe some people, even in this room, have been through that program. Lots of Snuneymuxw people have. The new daycare facility, which is a partnership with School District 68, well, it's been sort of put off a little bit, as most construction projects have been of late. It is going to be open not in August, it'll be completed in August and will open in September. And finally, just forward-looking, we've had on the books the idea that we will have a Snuneymuxw secondary school, a plan for that, not in the near future, but down the road, the corner of Gordon and Stewart roads. That's my presentation. Thanks kindly. Good evening.
Thank you, Scott. Matthew, if I can have you present for housing. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Matthew. I work in the housing department. Housing remains one of the most urgent needs for Snuneymuxw, and we are taking action across the housing continuum to address this need, from transitional and supportive housing to affordable family homes and below-market options for working professionals. We are committed to creating housing solutions that will meet the community's needs. One of these, the most recent project that's opened, is Lalamatol, which is a multi-family residential building which has 8 units. It was completed last October, and we currently have approximately 35 community members living in that complex. There is future plans for other developments in that area along Warpath. There is going to be 2 projects, two further BC housing projects that will be approximately about 55 additional units. We're still operating the transitional housing project that's on Island Brave, and that has been a pretty big success. A few other quick points. We have secured funding for 4 Section 95 single-family homes that are going to be built on Styrewood. That construction should start sometime during the summer. We've also been approved through ISK for 12 health and safety renovations, so that accounts for, that's approximately about $1.5 million for those 12 units, and we're currently working on another 29 renovations, which is about 2.5 million. The Housing Department has, over the last year, responded to numerous emergency situations and renovations, from water leaks, fires, structural failures, as well as multiple modifications for people with mobility needs. We're working on a pilot project with BC Hydro at the moment, where we've secured funding for 17 heat pumps, which is about $250,000 for those. Hopefully we're going to be able to roll this out across the community and provide more of those for the homes that qualify. And then just on a day-to-day basis, we're providing support, property management support for 98 rental units across the community, as well as an additional 70 elders units that are part of our elders repair and maintenance program. Thank you very much.
Pi, if you wouldn't mind coming and sharing some health updates. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm too short. Oh, thank you. Good evening, everybody, and thank you all for coming out for this important report out. And there's really good work that happens, and health is successful because of the leadership in the community and all that we're trying to do for you. So health has been extremely busy. We have our nurses. We have the longest retention nurses on the island. We provide home care. We have patient travel that provides support to our members that go to Vancouver, Victoria, and physician services. Physician services, this is unique in that Rod and Joan and Bill, while Chief was away, we met with Ministry of Health. So August, this nation signed our own contract, government to government, with Ministry of Health. So we have our own physicians in our health center. And that's thank you to the support of the leadership that presented to the minister in Victoria. As of a week ago, we signed a doctor who's going to start September 1st, or September after Labor Day. And as of tomorrow, we'll have a second 1.0 FTE doctor that will start June 1st. So there will be and that's thanks to the hard work of the team at the health center and the support and the guidance that we get from leadership. So we really couldn't do it without all of you, and this is done for all of you. This is health. Health is your building. When you go there, there's food to nourish you, water to whatever you want, coffee, tea. Brenda's the best hostess ever. We also have a dental project, which Connie Paul has done an enormous amount of work, so we're awaiting, and because of the election, it's delayed, a $9 million dental project, which leadership supported and guided us through the process. So we're waiting. It's in partnership with VIU, and Connie Paul helped write the curriculum for that. So it's an amazing project, and we're looking for that, and that will bring renovations to the health center. So, you know, there's lots of changes. Mental health is probably one of the places where we really need to strengthen, and working with HR to really look for the right people that are culturally safe, trauma-informed, and want to invest in our nation, invest in our people, and that's what we're doing. In the meantime, we have our elders that we bring to the health center every morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the mornings. So you're welcome to come and see elders in the health center. You don't need an appointment. What else is there? We have Reagan, who provides so much support for this nation. I can't tell you the amount of work that he does for our people. And really yes. And I really want to thank Eli. Eli has stepped up and followed me around to FNHA meetings, and he has, he's just on for the journey and learned so much, new terminology, new initiatives, and really supported health. And so he's been my direct link to leadership table, and you know, this is all for you. Everything we do is all for you. And I can't stress that enough. And when I go meet with Chief and Council, I hear everything that they want to do for you. And so I take all that and try and implement it with the incredible staff that we have. And who jumped ship on me is Rod. Rod, I could not do this work and the financial stability and guidance without Rod. And you know, that's what it really takes. You see how much money goes out of health. So the financial support and guidance and the checks and balance and being accountable back to you is so important. So if you ever have any questions, Kim, I will happily share with you what we spend. So just feel welcome to come into the health center, because that is there for you. Haichka.
John, if you don't mind, coming up and sharing the Marine.
The easy one. Haichka, everyone. Thank you very much. Those of you who don't know me, my name is John White. I'm your guys' Marine Director, and I have been for going on 3 years. So over the past year, the Snuneymuxw Marine Division has made substantial progress in restoring and protecting our marine and ecosystems across our territory. Our department is comprised of 4 key sectors: an enforcement and resource department, our emergency response department, and the in-marine environmental technician team. As well, we have the Nanaimo Rebuilding and Enhancement technician teams. These are instrumental in a number of successes that we've had over the course of the year. For the Nanaimo River salmon habitat, we've seen a strong recovery with chum salmons surpassing 54,000 chum returning to our river this year. So that was a huge win for us. We've also been working on kelp restoration efforts through a green gravel program, and we've regenerated vital bull and sugar kelp beds within our territory. Our partnerships, we work with all levels of government. We work with Oceans Network Canada and every partner that we could pull in to kind of build capacity for our nation, our nation's marine division. So building capacity is like highly important for us to see development of our staffing. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much what we've been working on over the course of the year. One thing I did want to touch on was the question around CellPack. The CellPack growth through that company over the last year has been close to $2 million. So $1 million of that is Snuneymuxw. So we're working very diligently to direct where that funding's going over the course of the next year. So I just wanted to put that out there and just thank everyone for coming tonight. Haichkatu Selkwan for showing up, and thank you, everyone.
Hey, John, DM, would you mind sharing a little bit about our capital operations?
That works. Thanks. Good evening, everybody. My name is Doug Muir. I'm the Capital Projects Director for Snuneymuxw. Rod, is the shine from the top of my head causing you any visual problems? Just want to make sure you're okay. Thank you. Something that Joan mentioned previously about context kind of reminded me of my tenure here with your community, and I started in early 2011, and the progress, through the strategic planning of previous chief and councils, current chief and council, their direction, their planning, and previous staff. I remember when tanked water was an issue out at IR4 and in other areas. I remember bottled water, septic systems that were failing, antiquated roads, all kinds of issues. And, a little over a decade later, the work again from your elected governments and from staff and from consultants and from actually Indigenous services. We've created a pretty good relationship with the folks at Indigenous Services, and that time represents over $100 million that's in the ground or above the ground in your community today. And that is a new health center, new amazing. And I'm very honored and happy to challenging with some of the government agencies that we deal with collectively to obtain the necessary funding to improve your lives and improve the infrastructure that's necessary to live your daily lives. Real quickly, I'll go through number one here. The priorities are right now to replace the antiquated sanitary sewer system here, and that's going to be done in phases simply because of the mess that will create for community members here. If we do it all at once, that represents a value of almost $20 million. So it will be done in phases, and it started with the Needham Street widening. Now we're going to come down Center Street to Portage, and replace the what's called old AC sanitary sewer piping. It's asbestos concrete. It doesn't meet any industry standard today, so that needs to be replaced. We're going to relocate the existing lift station on Shoreline, $3 million here at IR1. That will improve the surface works aesthetically. And moving to number 3, the waste coal pile project was mentioned previously. That represents over a decade of work with Canada and the community members that are affected by that waste coal. We have completed a new access road from Gordon Road to the number 3 reserve boundary. The next phase is to, and that's, pardon me, that's a contaminated sites project, not a capital project. With the funding associated with that waste coal project, we also cleared an area right adjacent to the pump station on Gordon Road at number 4. And that cleared area is for a future public works yard. The organics from that site will be stripped and it will be stockpiled for the future capping of that project. And I see EJ just reminded me of the major project that just finished. We're not 100% finished, but the cemetery of here at IR1, very important project because I know that the grave diggers, every time they had to dig a grave, the graves filled up, and it made things very difficult, obviously. So we improved the drainage through that capital project. It was called the Uplands Drainage Project and Water Main Extension, and we extended the water main from Totem down Woodhouse. There's a new fire hydrant down there. There's new drainage that surrounds the entire area. Of course, being at the lowest point here at number 1, everything drains downhill. Everything used to flood, it doesn't flood anymore. And we look forward to the next phase, and we've completed studies associated with foreshore protection, riverbank protection at IR's number 3, or 2 and 3. And we are going to implement over the course of the next months and years protection for those that are currently laid to rest at number 1, because there's actual bodies that have been exposed, and that's prior members. And we also, through those studies along the foreshore here at number 1, we are going to protect the existing infrastructure and the new infrastructure here at number 1. I got another little note here. Also announced a new youth center in partnership with Quammit Leyland. Correct, yes, thank you. KL, of course, through the leadership of Councillor Bill, always very instrumental in bringing things forth for the community and services, benefits for the community. So there's going to be a brand new youth center, replacing the old one at the extreme north end of IR1 here. So again, thank you for that reminder, Erilyn. What else did I have on here? Always lots going in capital. Again, very exciting. We are going to also build out more lots, create more lots at number 4. And once we've completed building out service ready to build upon lots, then we're going to move to the northwest, like Scott was previously stating about the school, and that will be further.
Auntie, I keep hounding our team that's one of our priorities, is when are we going to pave Gordon Road? And when that pavement comes, we do want to upgrade the infrastructure there as well. But there's a certain distance that it comes off Cedar Road. There's a certain distance that it comes off Cedar Road before it becomes Snuneymuxw Nation. So we got to work with highways to get that done, but that is one of our main.
Do nothing with our land because we got that big sewer thing in front of our house. Yeah, so I just wanted to ask that question.
The sewer in front on Gordon Road.
Septic system. Yeah.
Okay, we'll come out and see if that's affecting your driveway, and
Okay, thank you.
but we do have more work to do out there, and we want to get to that as soon as possible.
Yeah. Hi, Chica.
Is there ever going to be any sewer? Is there ever going to be any sewer service to number 2 reserve?
That's a bit more of a challenge because it is privately held. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but unfortunately ISK's mandate is to fund band administered lands only. But that's something that is changing with Indigenous services. So again, that's something that we can certainly pursue, yes.
Well, Lot 28 belongs to Snuneymuxw First Nations. To Snuneymuxw First Nations.
Infrastructure runs right now, and that's where we have to go for it to go through that private land and RDN.
I'll look into that for you. Maybe we can, I can connect with you after the meeting and I can get some more information from you. Will that be okay? Thank you.
Hi. Along the same lines, I'm just wondering about Rains Road as well. Is that included? Is that because it's CP land that we don't get the sewer running down Rains Road?
Not entirely. That road is a ministry road. Through the waste coal pile project and other studies and process, that will change eventually.
Eventually?
Eventually, yes. Yeah.
The goal is to have infrastructure come through the main road from Gordon Road to Rains Road and have that service our community. But it's the jurisdictional problem where that road is maintained. As you probably see, that we don't do the maintenance on that road because it's not controlled by us. But we are going to take some effort here. I know there's a issue with speeders that we want to deal with right now, and we've got a plan here moving forward. Brandon, he's got a plan here on what we're going to move towards, but yeah.
You know, I live on Range Road. I mean, I love it out there. This time of year, with everybody watering, our water becomes non-existent. Like, I mean, last year, I couldn't even water my garden. I could, you know, inside the house pressure was all right, not the greatest. And I'm wondering, my thoughts go to approaching what I've been told is there is a very small main pipeline bringing the water down to Rains. And we've built...
The NCID pipe is 4-inch, but on Snuneymuxw lands at IR3, it's 6-inch. However, that was one of the benefits of the project. If we move it to the, the final phases, is to disconnect from NCID and connect to the city of Nanaimo. And all the new infrastructure is coming from Gordon Road through that new access road and down into the new subdivision. That's the plan. And that's in process right now.
Yeah, but you're talking that's still a few years down the road, right?
Well, each of those phases is estimated to be between 15 and 19 months of work. Yeah, there's quite the clearing and grubbing alone to create the roads and the new subdivision, that'll be, like I said, about 15 to 18 months.
You know, and I did talk to the Cedar Fire Chief about this, and they would have to approach any fire out there with tanks. You know, trucking in the water, filling up the tank to pump onto a fire. You know, I don't know. You know, I live in a single wide trailer. That's going to burn up in 15 minutes. They wouldn't even get a tank there, right? You know, it's a pretty serious problem.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Food for thought, and I've been wanting to bring that to the attention of Chief and Council, like I say.
Yeah.
Especially now, where the water's non-existent.
Yeah, and again, that's what we're pushing for through that, those projects, is a means of egress during flooding, a new means of egress out that way, and also disconnection from NCID, connection to city. So these are things that are in play. They're not absolute, but this is what we're pushing for, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug Muir. Andrew, would you mind sharing some communications?
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. Great to be here. My name is Andrew Sutherland, and I lead communications for Snuneymuxw alongside my colleague Sonia Hartwig, who's here tonight at our community planning feedback table. Let me first start by just saying, you know, how much of a joy it is for me as a communicator to amplify and share all the amazing wins we've had over the past few years. And so I'm just going to give you a quick overview of our communications program. And if you have any questions, please give me a shout. So essentially, our big goal is to ensure that you get the important updates from Snuneymuxw in a way that makes sense to you, whether you're living in Snuneymuxw or abroad. And so we've done that through various means. One of them is upping our online content to ensure that we have robust information to support lands planning, marine division, our education department, all of our different health services. All those can be found on our website at your convenience. We also have a bunch of print materials that we send out throughout the year, including our monthly newsletter, our quarterly chief report, as well as our year in review reports. Those are all available anytime on our website, and they're also mailed out to all members throughout the world. Some other great initiatives that we get to work on are our events, like our flagship annual event, Snuneymuxw Days. We hosted Coast Salish Games last year, and Snuneymuxw Communications is about amplifying it. It's about creating those sponsorship packages and a full campaign to support those events. So for members who don't use social media, we have daily updates on the homepage of our website, and of course we also have Facebook. And so anything that's posted on Facebook is posted on our homepage of our website. So if you're not into getting into Facebook, all good. You can still get that same information online. A highlight of our work is storytelling. So you might have noticed throughout the past couple of years, we've been featuring graduation stories, leadership stories. We are working currently with Veronica Walls-Good, who's doing some amazing socially based, social media based videos to highlight our services and Snuneymuxw. At the heart of it all, we collaborate with each Snuneymuxw department to ensure that the work that's happening at the admin office, at the health center, Learning Academy, Marine Division, can be found and shared with all of you. And I'll just end with a review in numbers, because it's always great to see comms through a numbers lens. So we achieved in 2024 over 62,000 video views. We mailed over 3,200 chief reports and delivered over 3,000 printed newsletters. We shared 475 Facebook posts, produced 312 original pieces of creative content. That's like posters, videos, audio, etc. We distributed 82 notices, issued 15 press releases, supported 12 departments, and managed 3 websites. And so communications is always open to hearing from you. What do you want to hear more of? What are we missing? And if you have any feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Our email is communications@snuneymuxw.ca. So if you have any questions or thoughts, please send it our way. Thank you and have a great night.
Hey, yep. Janine was here. There to there. And that's it.
And then we have this.
Okay. Here you go. You draw.
Oh.
Scott also. Scott also. Yeah.
What did he win? What's that one, Tara? Oh, an iPad. You want an iPad? Tara has it back there. And how many more do we have?
Just one.
One more? Oh, the TV. Did we do the Ninja? Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll do the TV after.
At the end.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to thank our senior staff for coming up and sharing a few words of where we are in our day-to-day operations. It's very important that we communicate that out to our membership, and if we need to improve, let us know, please. We need to improve on a lot of things, and we're here to listen and follow through. So, you know, our main objective is to look after our people and provide the needs that they need on a day-to-day basis, and that's what our job is. So I appreciate those updates. Thank you. As Snuneymuxw people, we know that the local economy started on the backs of our Snuneymuxw ancestors and at the exclusion of our nation, and as a result, a tremendous amount of wealth has been generated. Therefore, it's essential that we actively and effectively exercise our treaty rights and decision-making authority over operations and proposed projects in our territory. Snuneymuxw Chief and Council focus efforts to build and sustain strong and productive relationships with leadership representing the Government of Canada, the Government of British Columbia, the Municipality of Nanaimo, the Regional District of Nanaimo, Islands Trust, the Nanaimo Airport Authority, and the Nanaimo Port Authority. It is imperative that our nation continue to carve out our rightful position at the decision-making table and be a driving force for economic growth in our territory. Currently in Snuneymuxw territory and marine areas, there are two port authorities, Nanaimo Port Authority and the Vancouver-Fraser Port Authority. One airport, 4 BC ferry terminals, a defunct railway system, major C-SPAN operations, mosaic forest management, and several forest production mills. Reconciling our past and with Snuneymuxw leading the way, economic reconciliation will result in Snuneymuxw participation in the economic production of our lands and waters. Snuneymuxw will decide our future on our own terms. and we welcome Nanaimo, the Mid-Island region, British Columbia, and Canada to join us during this phenomenal time, working together for a brighter Snuneymuxw economic future. This is another defining moment for Snuneymuxw, and our time is now. So with that, you know, we've had return of lands. Taitachan, over 190 acres, the former D&D properties. Quatloch, 127 acres, part of Snuneymuxw village of Quatloch, transferred back to Snuneymuxw from Seacliff Properties as part of the South Nanaimo Development Initiative. Snuneymuxw. A few years back, the government approached and they offered us $6 million. That was in 2011. With our negotiating team, we said that was absolutely not enough. For the lost use and the compensation, we brought it back up to $42 million. So a lot of hard work. Erlen and our negotiating team, our legal team, were able to get that number to where it's at today. So appreciate the hard work there. One other big step that we've, in my view, that we're able to move forward was the Nanaimo Port Authority Economic Sharing Agreement. Provides Snuneymuxw with revenue sharing and a decision-making role with the DP World Terminal expansion on Snuneymuxw territory in Duke Point. But also that working with the Port Authority and all the economic revenue that comes into our territory, we now get a piece of that pie. I've sat with Kamayakam, Jimmy, for years. That was one of their biggest fights. Our people need to be compensated for everything that's brought into our territory in our backyard that they reap the rewards from, and Snuneymuxw don't receive nothing. Now we're getting a bit of the revenue coming into Snuneymuxw. I shared that with our elders advisory, with our matriarchs. The first check was for that 1 month was $60,000, and I asked our finance team to specifically put it to our elders and our matriarchs program so we can keep that going, moving forward. So it's just a beginning to that revenue stream that's going to be coming to Snuneymuxw on a monthly basis. But it's the hard work that our past leadership fought for a long time. So we lift our hands up to them. Our bundled specific claim. We took a different approach on moving into our next specific claim. Our main village sites are Slilnup, Quasalaqualt, False Narrows, Millstone River. We moved them into a specific claim process, but we looked at if we went the same direction that we did with the other specific claims, probably this council wouldn't see it come to fruition. So we proposed a different bundling those claims and putting a timeline to it. So there's been a lot of work, but the view is worth well over $1 billion. So the work has been underway for the last year on identifying and arguing back and forth with government because they figure a village is just a little piece of property, which our village extended as far as we could see. Up the rivers, up the mountains. So is it a 5-year timeline, Erlen? 5 years. So we got about another 4 years left to. Progress is moving forward. So one other big step that we've taken is with government is getting recognition of Snuneymuxw on the Fraser River and the marine areas that extend to the Fraser River. Snuneymuxw had a village site on Barnston Island up the Fraser River. Our people would migrate there when the sockeye would run. We lived there. A lot of our family histories, our Indian names come from there. Government has acknowledged and recognized that. First Nations over there know that Snuneymuxw was once there. It's documented. They can't take that away from us. So that is another part of our negotiation work that is moving. Every referral that comes from the Fraser River, they include Snuneymuxw. They acknowledge us that we were descendants of the Fraser River. So that's a big part of our negotiation work as well. Part of that was the Patello Bridge work. They reached out and they acknowledged Snuneymuxw on that work, and we are part of those discussions on that upgrade. Another part of that is the Tilbury LNG plant on the mainland, Fortis, BC. We have entered an agreement with them, and we can. The Vancouver Fraser Port Authority established a relationship promoting mutual benefits and economic opportunities with the Roberts Bank Terminal project. So Snuneymuxw is, no matter where you look, I guess, we're there. And it's the hard work of our people over the last 170 years since we signed that treaty. Our people have been fighting. And the fight will carry on. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. We've got a lot to achieve. We've got more members that want to come home. We got to build more houses. We got to develop more lands. So that is the mandate of this council, is to keep moving forward, keep fighting the fight, making sure we get projects across the finish line. Acknowledge the work of businesses in good hands. We're going to be sharing some numbers in the near future on the success of getting into the gaming industry. It's going to look after our people. So appreciate that. I'm just going to mention that. I'm going to pass it on to Erlen. She's.
Way to go, Chief. Heichka. So on our strategic planning initiatives, these are just outlines that we're currently working on in the long term. Firstly, a 10-year Snuneymuxw financial plan. We have our nation, we have Petrolift Development Group, and we have our Thopcom Trust. All of them have their separate mandates. All of them are geared to build our nation and to create a strong Snuneymuxw economy. So council, with the support of our administrative team, are bringing all three entities together. So that's our community trustees, our CEO, Ian Simpson, and our senior managers that you heard today together to sit down and chart out a 10-year path and to prepare and plan for the future that we look forward to by 2035. Our nation is dramatically changing in a transformative way. We're seeing numbers of our land base growing of over 700%. We went from 700 acres of reserve land, and now a couple decades later, we stand to grow to over 11,000 acres, either fee simple or reserve land that we own now or we will own in the future, subject to negotiations with all levels of government. On a cash flow basis, we're skyrocketing astronomically. PDG has grown. The assets of PDG has grown. We started with 4 assets. We're upwards of 55 in 9 short years. So we're blasting through every industry standard with respect to business development. PDG has grown by 388%, their asset base, and that's huge growth over the last couple of years. So it's very important that we chart out what our community's goals are for the next 10 years and where we want to be by 2035. Housing, education, capital, employment, elders, youth. We have a real opportunity right now to move toward that vision. Secondly, we have with infrastructure and community amenities and things like that. So community engagement will continue on with that over the next little while. The third strategic planning initiative we're working on is with the Tlopquam Community Settlement Trust. They're charged with improving the quality of life for us and generating wealth for our nation. So in partnership with the community trustees, some who are here today, we also are determining what our joint priorities were and plunking those into the 10-year Snuneymuxw financial plan. So we just started that last summer. We're taking our time, and the big things to discuss with our trust group. We also have a new administrative trustee with our Tlopquam Trust, and that is the First Nations Bank of Canada Trust Division. So those are some of our strategic planning initiatives. I'll share it back with you, Chief.
Thank you, Erlen. Thank you once again for just sitting and listening to the info that we wanted to share this evening. I thank our help that traveled here from the mainland to come and present our audit. Really happy this evening to see everybody and to share this movement that we're making together. We're in a very positive position to really make some good things happen. You know, we've got other communities wondering how they can purchase a casino and do different things of that nature. You know, I thank the Creator. He just looked at us and he said, I think it's Snuneymuxw's time, and it is. And we're moving forward, and a lot of good things to come forward as well. But I just want to acknowledge each and every one of you for taking the time this evening and to share with your family where we are as a community. We're moving forward, progressing, and we're in good hands. And I just wanted to share that with you before we leave, and I hope everybody got a plate of chow mein to go for tomorrow, because there's midnight snack. But I think that takes us to the end of our One More Door prize. Eli, Eli's our youngest counselor. I'm going to ask him to pick the winner. Woo-hoo. Auntie Sandy. She won a TV or a slushie. What did she win, Tara? TV, right on. Congratulations. So that takes us to the end of our report and our discussion points. I know we've had quite a long evening. If there's any questions or concerns, please bring those forward. My door is always open. My door is always open. And phone me anytime. My phone is always on. But thank you, everybody, for taking the time this evening. Safe travels home, and we'll hopefully have that elders pension that by July 1st we're shooting for. Okay? So thank you, everybody. Once again, take care and have a good night. Hey, what's...
Please